It's not a normal thing to see a building fall down in the middle of the night. It's absolutely awful. As to some of the impact, the biggest impact we've seen, obviously, was the ruling that came down from the state requiring full reserves and the assessments, the maintenances on the building. That's been the biggest impact.
Any rational person has to be supportive of the legislation because it goes to the issue of safety. So while it may have a burden, a financial burden, I mean, we have an obligation, the state, the city, everybody has an obligation to keep people safe. So there's no question that the law is something that unfortunately was a consequence of an event, but certainly it's something everyone supports.
After the tragedy in Surfside 3 years ago, we see that people are more open, willing to consider, willing to listen between the board members, between the unit owners. We're getting more people in the table that willing to consider sell us the older condominium.
The average unit, let's just say in the building, is 500,000 if they went to go sell it on their own. But somebody like us would come in and offer $1 million, actually double or sometimes triple the value. So we're not exactly trying to push people out of their homes, but we're also quite realistic when it comes to a building that hasn't been properly maintained and something that's deemed unsafe.
So what you have is building after building facing assessments that they really can't afford. They do not have the will, i.e. the 90% that can require a termination. And so they sit now in this never land in which they attempt to have some partial assessment, deferred assessment. Where is this going to go? I don't know, but for sure, there are hundreds of buildings that are in this situation as we wend our way out of year one of the quote post-assessment requirement. I suspect that this is going to be a real issue in 2025, 2026.
I think that after all, developer or not, we're all human beings. And if the stronger person can help the weaker person, or the smarter person can help the person with less knowledge or less experience, I think this is something that it's good to see. And we should all help each other if we can, of course.